Hello friends, it's Shelley from Koala Knits and Knacks. In this tutorial, we're going to make this beautiful drop stitched scarf. Now, I know I have several drop stitched scarves on my channel. Go ahead and take a look. You'll see different ways that I've closed them off, and you can choose whichever your favorite one is. But this one is one that is a true infinity scarf. It is circular throughout, like it is a circle, but it's tubular throughout the whole scarf. There is no cinched end, there's no flat edge. It's completely a tube all the way around the circle, inside the circle. And that took some deciphering, trust me friends. But one of my members of my Facebook group and faithful watchers of this channel, her name is Daphne, wanted me to make one. And so I tried and I failed, and then I tried again, and this is the one that worked. So this one's for you, Daphne. and all the rest of you who want to make a drop stitch infinity scarf that is totally tubular throughout the whole thing. I used my 46 needle Addy, and I used Yarn Inspirations Caron cinnamon swirl cakes in the color Sweets. Sweets, or is it? Yes, it's Sweets. And I was totally surprised at how this colorway, how it worked up as we knitted. I never expected it by looking at the ball. And so I absolutely love it. And I want to try to get some of the other colors in this line. So anyways, once you have your supplies and your machine, we're going to get going on this. But please, friends, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And come on over to my Facebook group and be a part of that wonderful group of friends as well. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so I have my 46 needle machine. I'm going to bring my last white and my first black needle in line with my yarn guide. Give it a little dust. We're going to take our waste yarn, so a yarn that's contrasting color to our working yarn, so I can easily see it against that, so I'll be able to pick up my stitches easily. Okay, we're going to take our yarn, we're going to put it in front of that first black, behind, in front, and behind, all the way around. Just letting it slip through your fingers, like I always say. Don't put any tension on it. And you do the same thing when you're casting on without waste yarn. If you're doing a cinched, you want a cinched edge on your piece, like for our beanies, you would cast on in the same way, very loosely. Now we're going to just go around slowly for the first row, making sure that those loops are dropping down over those two little red teeth before the needle picks up the yarn and takes it down between those two needles. It's really quite something how this thing works. So that's one row. I'm going to knit 7 rows, friends, so you go ahead. And you keep cranking until you get as many rows as you're comfortable with for waste yarn. I'm going to do 7. Just cranking or clicking on row 7. Before I get to the end, I'm going to set my row counter to 0, so we're ready to go. I'm watching for that black divider to come around, which I take a permanent black marker and I mark that divider between the last white and the first black. I always know when my end of my row is coming. Cut off that tail. We're going to pop that between the last white and the first black, and we're going to take our working yarn. All right, so I have my working yarn. My row counter is set to 0. We're going to pop that into our yarn guide in between the last white, the first black. We're going to hold both of those tails and we're going to knit 4 needles. And once we have those knit, we're going to help that down underneath those little dividers. We're going to take both ends of our working yarn and we're going to snug it up. And you see how it tightened our tension in there? And that is just so that we have an even tension at the beginning of our row as we do the rest of the row. Otherwise it's loopy here and it's a little bit loose, okay? You're gonna go slow, making sure that you do not get a tuck stitch on this row or any other row. I'm just grabbing my yarn, I'm getting it loose from my ball, and I'm going to just make sure, because it's a different texture yarn, I'm gonna make sure that it is connecting well. There we go, round 1 done. So now I can go at a little bit faster speed. I'm putting a little bit of tension on it. I have it between my fingers there. And I am watching right in here as it passes by that yarn guide to make sure that those loops go down over the red teeth before this needle picks it up and takes it down. Because if that loop gets stuck up on the white, when it's coming past here, if it gets stuck up on the white needle, you're going to get a tucked stitch. And friends, when you're making a drop stitch anything, scarf, beanie, whatever it is, when you're making something that's drop stitched, if you have a tucked stitch anywhere in there, it's going to only drop as far as your tuck stitch, and you're not going to be able to do a thing about it. So you have to pay particular attention. Oh, and I'm getting knots in this ball too. This has been my lot in life for the last week. The balls of yarn that I'm getting have knots in them, like lots of yarn craziness. That never happens to me, but this past week, it's happening a lot. I don't know what the problem is. Maybe it's a sign I need to take a little bit of a break. So we're going to keep knitting, making sure that we find the right speed and the right tension for the yarn that we're using. Keeping an eye right in here. Make sure that there is no tucked stitches. You want all your stitches to be beautiful. And we're going to knit for 75 rows. Okay, so once my project starts to touch the table, I'm going to come back and show you what we do with it if you're new. You're going to want to watch it. So otherwise, continue going till you have 75 rows, and I will meet you when we get there. How's it going, friends? Take a look at this yarn. I did not expect this. Like, isn't it absolutely gorgeous? When you look at the ball, you wouldn't expect that. I am so thrilled with this yarn, and I'm going to get more because it just works so well in this machine. One of you beautiful people, and you know who you are, sent me this ball and a few others, and I've been using it, and I just love it. Thank you for sending this one to me. I really appreciate it, and look how beautiful it is. Okay, so we're going to pick up our work once it starts to touch the table. We do not want it to push up and then cause some looseness here that will cause the loops to drop off the red teeth and drop a row. So we just pick it up and we roll it into a donut. Just like that. And it helps to keep the tension even around the barrel. Then we keep going. I'm almost there. That was 62 rows. This is 63. And I'm going to keep going until I get to 75 and I'll meet you back. I'm going to click on row 75. There we go. I'm going to go around. I'm going to watch for that black divider to come into view, and there it is. I'm going to line up the last white, the first black, in line with my yarn feeder, and I'm going to cut off a tail. We're going to cut off a longer tail because we're going to use it to sew, and we're going to pop that into the center. So cut off about 1.5 feet. Pop that into the center just like that. You're going to grab your waste yarn. We're going to hold both tails. We're going to, you don't need to worry about the tension here because it's just the waist yarn, but you want to make sure that it goes down on every loop, that you don't get a tucked stitch on this row. And then you can keep going for as many rows as you're comfortable. And for me, I do 7. All right, so I've knit 7 rows. I'm going to now take my yarn tail and I'm going to cut off one that goes around my barrel at least twice, 1.5 to 2 times. Open that latch, pop that in between the last white and the first black. Now, if I was to now just rotate my barrel twice, it would take my work off for me, and that would be good. That's normally how I would do it. But because we're going to work on our ends and closing them in a certain way, we're going to be jostling with this a bit, and this end piece will start to unravel and come undone because these stitches aren't being held. So we're going to cast off with a long tail cast off. So we're going to bring our barrel all the way around. I've got my tail on my needle. I'm going to bring it around. Here's needle 1. You want to bring it so that that needle is still down there. This one's starting to pop up now. So when that pops up, like if this needle was to pop up, it would pull off this loop and then you would lose your row. So don't go so far that that needle pops up and takes the stitch off. We're going to just go as far as, so right now, see if this one's starting to come up. If I go any farther, I'm just going to show you. If I go any farther, this one's going to come up and it's going to push this loop off those teeth. And I don't want that because then it'll drop my row. So we're going to just grab them while we can. Then we're going to turn our handle a little bit more. Not going too far again, just enough to release these. Making sure that needle is still down in the needle bed. And continue turning and removing until we have all of our stitches off. Once you have your piece off the machine, we are going to, if you're using this as your workstation, you're going to remove your machine, and I'll see you back. All right, so we have our project off the machine. We're going to stretch it widthwise. I already did it slightly, but we're going to do it again together. And lengthwise. Look how beautiful these colors are. I love this. I think it is so gorgeous. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the beginning of our projects. We're going to find our first and our last stitch. Undo that little knot. Where your waste yarn is coming out, if you trail that back and you pull on this loop, here's your waste yarn here. That last loop of the working project that it's working yarn that it's coming out of is this one. We're going to mark that. We're going to go to the left of that. We're going to see where our working yarn tail is right here. That loop right beside it. So here's our tail right beside it, and we're going to mark that one. We're going to then take our other side. We're going to mark that too. So you need 4 stitch markers. Making sure these tails, that long one is out. You're going to find your waste yarn. And the loop that waste yarn is going through, it's coming down this way. You know, that's the end of your project when your waste yarn is going in instead of up. And this is the stitch we're going to grab with our stitch marker. We're going to take the other one. We're going to go to the left of that. This is our working yarn. This loop here, when you pull on that, that's the last loop. That's the one you're going to mark. Just like that. So we've made sure that the tails are outside of our work. This is the end of our project because our long tail is there. That's how you know this is the end of our work. This is the beginning of our work. We have to drop every second stitch at the end of our work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually fold this the other way. So so this is up here and we got our bobby pins down there. I'm going to just put it in half, put it so that my bobby pins are on this side. My stitch markers are on this side, my long tail's on this side, and this is at the bottom. I'm going to fold that up. Fold that down, and we are going to work every stitch on this top half, every other stitch on this half. Before we do that, we are going to just take our tail out of the way there just momentarily. We'll put it back in a second, but you're going to take this bottom piece. I want you to take an extra stitch marker. This is where, we start here and we went around. This is the end. I want you to take a stitch marker, miss this one, put it in there. Trust me, this will help you when you get to the end, because as this gets closed up, it's hard to, you get to the end and you say, now do I take that one or do I take that one? Because it gets tight. So we're going to put a stitch marker there. We're going to miss this one. We're going to put a stitch marker there. Just so we know where our stitches are that we work. Because we're going to work this one here. But this last one here, we're not going to work. We're going to work this one and this one, but I just want to make sure I see where my stitches are, and you'll see when we get there. But for now, just mark them. Since we marked this one, miss one, mark one, miss one, mark one. Then put your tail back where it was. And we are now going to begin our closure. So put your needle on the end of your yarn tail, and remembering we are going to pick up every stitch at the top, every second stitch at the bottom. But we have to do it in such a way that this stays lined up like this, and we don't run out of stitches on this or space on this side before this side. So what we're going to do, and you'll see what I mean in just a second, we are going to take our yarn from the bottom here. I am actually going to start on this bottom one. So I'm just going to come over to this next one where my first stitch marker is, and I'm going to pick up that stitch. So I'm just trailing it over one more stitch, making sure that's outside of my work. Okay, here's my stitch marker at the beginning. What you're going to do is you can fold that if you like, so it looks like there's a point of a V up at the top there. Makes it look like there's a stitch. I'm going to go underneath that one and underneath another one. So I'm picking up 2, I'm going straight across and picking up 2. I'm going to pull that through, keeping my tension even to the rest of my project. So I picked up 1 on this side, 2 on this side. We're going to miss this next one. We're going to pick up this third one. So you're picking up only 1 on the bottom, and you've missed 1. Okay, that puts us in line. Up at the top here, we're going to take these next 2. You can, just so that you can see how I'm passing the needle, I'm going to take the next 2, I'm going to make a V out of it, and I'm just going to go straight across like this. Pick up 2 bars just like that, and I'll show you it another way on the next stitch. Okay. pull through. So I've picked up 2 up here, only 1 down here, but if I miss this one, then that becomes equal. So I'm gonna miss this one, I'm gonna pick up this one. I'm gonna just pull that so it's nice and snug, but my tension is even to the rest of the project as much as possible. So I'm gonna work these next 2. I'm gonna go pick up that stitch, then pick up that stitch. So I'm just going down and up. It's the same as if you fold it and you make a point at the top, wide part of your stitches here, and you go across. Once you can visualize that, then you don't have to make it a point. That's basically how we pick up the Kitchener stitch when we're doing the Kitchener stitch, but only this isn't the Kitchener stitch because we would go back into where we came out at the top. I'm not going to get into that in this video. It's just the motion is the same on the top here. So I did this one, so I'm going to miss this one, pick up this one. Then I'm going to take the next 2 at the top, bring it through. This is so fun. I love these kinds of things. We're going to miss this next one, pick up the next one. Doesn't matter if you go down or up, doesn't matter, just stay consistent. And then these next 2 stitches here, if you want to fold them, make the point, make it look like a stitch, go across, by all means, go ahead and do that. I'm going to miss one, take the next one. On the next 2 stitches, I'm going to pick them up. And I'm going to miss one and take one. Pick up the next 2 stitches. And miss one and take one. What you can do at this point is just rotate your tube, so you have a bigger working space here. Straighten it out, make it easier on yourself. There we go. And we're going to continue along. Maybe I went a little too far, but that's okay. I'm right at the very corner here. So I'm going to pick up these next 2. I'm going to miss this next one and pick up this next one. Pick up the 2 at the top. And friends, do not skip ahead and then remove your waste yarn, because your project will come apart when you start to drop your stitches. We have another step we have to do before we remove our waste yarn in order for this this drop stitch scarf to maintain a tubular effect throughout the whole thing. And then I'm going to take these 2. Just by catching all of these stitches like this, again, if we take this waste yarn off next, and then drop our stitches, it doesn't work. And you can ask me how I know. Because you know what? I have to figure out these patterns for you. And sometimes they come easy. Other times it's more of a, of a trial. And this one I had to really work at. Well, not really work at, but the first was an epic fail. And I thought, how in the world am I going to do that? And then it clicked in on me, on my head, how to do it in my brain. And this is how we're going to do it. So don't take off your waste yarn when you get to the end here. Okay, so now I'm going to just rotate this a bit more. I'm sticking with you all the way here just because some of you might need it. Missing this one, picking up this one. If you don't, skip ahead until I get to the end. Miss one, pick one. Take the 2 at the top here. Miss one, take one. Take the 2 at the top here. Miss one, take one. Get my bobby pins out of the way here. Oops. So that one went, where'd that one go? I'm just gonna leave it off. It was the first stitch that I did, so we're okay. So I'm gonna go back up to the top. I'm gonna take 2. Miss one at the bottom, take the next one. We're getting to where we put our stitch markers. I'm gonna go up to the top, I'm gonna take the next 2. Oops. And here, If we're gonna miss one, that's this one with the stitch marker in it. We're gonna go in between it and take that next one. We're gonna go up to the top, take the next two. Come down, we're gonna miss the one with the stitch marker, take the next one. We're gonna go up to the top. There's only one left. I'm gonna take it. And then this next one here with the stitch marker, we're gonna miss it because we took the one before it, okay? And so then that takes us to this beginning one where we started here, that the stitch marker fell out. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just put my yarn into that stitch. And we've completed it. I'm gonna take that off. I'm going to remove these stitch markers. We're not gonna worry about this long tail. Don't cut it off yet, okay? We're going to then, you're going to need to grab a piece of yarn. And I like to, whatever color, okay, so this, first of all, this is the end of your project where it's gonna start dropping from. But we need to go to the other side and we need to put a guideline in there so that when we get, when we start dropping our stitches all the way down, there's a row that it stops at. Otherwise, it's going to just run into this next side and it all completely unravels. So taking a yarn color that's the same as the one you got here. Now I have to go through my ball to get it, but actually it doesn't matter because I can use the same color that was next because it's this color and so it'll blend. So I'm going to take a piece that will go around my project 1.5 times. Cut that off, pop that on my needle, and we're going to pick up half of each stitch. So let's just start anywhere on here. I'm going to start maybe, well, here's where my beginning is. As long as we get all the way around. I'm going to start where the wide part of my V is at the top. So here's the point and the other side. So here's one row all the way down here. I'm going to go to this first row right here, very edge. I'm going to pick up half of that first stitch. I'm going to go over the bar of the same stitch. So pick up one, over one, pick up one, over one. So I'm picking up the first half of each stitch. I'm going to pull this through. I'm going to continue on. Okay, and if you get mixed up as to where you are, we know that we're picking up on the rows where the wide part of the V goes up. So here I've got this stitch here. Here's the wide part of the V is going up. So this is the row I'm on. I need to go to this next row, pick up the first part of the stitch, pick up the first half of the stitch, pick up the first half of the stitch. You're going over the second half and picking up the first half. So when we drop our row, it's going to stop at this line. Okay, this is our guideline. It's going to stop at this line and not ravel all the way to the end. So let's just turn this tube so we can get at this a little bit better. Okay, friends, I turned it a little too far, so I'm just going to go like this. Okay, so now I'm confused. I'm not, but if I was confused, I'd say, okay, where am I? Okay, so this is the first half of this row right here. Wide part of the V goes up. This is the next row, so I'm going to just pick up, go over, pick up, go over, pick up, go over, pick up, go over, pick up, over, up. I'm going to do that all the way around. Very easy because I can see where the first row is because it's on my, right against the contrasting color of waste yarn. Okay, pull that. And there we go. And we're going to rotate this a little bit more so we can continue on. Okay, find my next row. Here's the wide part of the V goes up. Pick that first half, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Pull it through. We've got to be almost all the way around. Under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Rotate this again. rotate this again. Almost there, my friends. Under, over, under, over. Now it's very important that we get every row. So I'm gonna go under, over, under, over, under, over. I'm gonna go back into the same stitch where I started. That way I know I am completely around, and I'm gonna pull that like that. I'm gonna take this. You are going to leave it long. If you've done, let me just pull this, I want it longer on this side too. If you've done my drop stitch beanie, you know that you have to leave this line long until we've dropped all our rows and stretched it out. So keep these two tails long. Now we can go ahead and remove our waste yarn. To do so, and we've got this tail we have to tie off yet, but we're going to tie those all off in due time. Actually, you can take these two. I just said in due time, but you can take these two working yarn tails and you can tie them. Here's what I would suggest. Tie them lightly. Just like that, and we can tie them tighter once we know for sure that all of our rows are dropping like they should. Because if they don't, then we can ravel it back in and drop the row that might have been caught because it's at the end, and sometimes that's hard to catch that stitch. But with the way we did our bobby pins, we should not have a problem. But you're going to roll up your rim. You're going to, well, you're going to find, where's your end first? For those of you who are new. I shouldn't skip ahead here. We're going to find our tail end, which is right there. I don't know how it got so short, but it did. You're going to roll up. You're going to find that very top row, pinch a stitch, pull out that first line, that very first row. Go farther down, pinch the stitch, pull out the row. You have to do this for the first row only. And you have to do this for both sides of waste yarn because of the way we caught it at the end as well. We will have a line to have to take out, okay? So we're going to do that. We did the drawstring cast off at the end of our project as well, which gave us a line that went through the top loops so that they didn't unravel as we were closing our piece. And so that's the reason why we have to then do the same thing to the other side as what we're doing to this side. Now you can, now that the first row's off, it's already beginning to unravel. Just go ahead and unravel that. I'm going to just take it off like this and wind it up when I'm done. Okay, popping your hand through the center there and pulling out another row. And pulling out the row. If you've used your waste yarn more than once and you're not going to use it again, you can just snip it off every once in a while and you won't have to hold this big long tail. Okay. And I'm going to then take this and pull it out. And you can see all the stitches that are dropped, every second one. I'm going to put this aside, I'll roll it up later. You're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. You're going to find the tail. You're going to roll up, pinch a stitch. If you don't pinch it, it gets all knotted in here, and then pull. Go down 10 or 12 stitches, roll it up, pinch the stitch, pull it out, get that first row out, and then take off your waste yarn like we just did at the beginning of the project. Go ahead, do that, and I'll meet you back. Okay, I'm removing it. In the last clip, just prior to this, I said to remove this one, just like you did the beginning of the project. This is the beginning of the project. This was the end. So I thought I would pop on real quick in case I confused some of you. This waste yarn was at the beginning of our project. Okay, so I'm going to continue taking it off. Maybe I can pull it all in one big swoop like this. No, never take a shortcut, Shelley. It doesn't work. There we go. Now it will work. Now that we have our waste yarn off both sides, you can see what's happening here. Every second stitch is going to drop. I want to make sure that it's consistent all the way through, that I did the right thing. So I'm going to just turn this, and it's going to want to unravel as I do so. Every second one It's more at the beginning. And I say that because on my trial one, I had 2 rows that were caught, and so I had to, that's why I resorted to the bobby pins to go backwards so that we could make sure that we caught all the right stitches. Let me get these. So this long one is our guide that we're gonna have, once we drop our stitches, we'll stretch this, and we need this extra length, okay? But let me just see here. Where are my rows? Okay, so I got picked up, dropped, picked up, drop, picked up, drop, picked all the way across, so I know that we've caught our right stitches. So perfect. All right, friends. So now let the therapy begin. We are going to start pulling. Get these little tails, very long tails, out of the way. And you just pull from one side to the middle, over to the other side, and you go back and forth. If you have a tucked stitch, let's say I had a tucked stitch in here, it's not going to drop past that. And so basically you have to do your whole project over again, because I warned you at the beginning that you have to watch to make sure that you do not have any tucked stitches. A tucked stitch will stall your project, and you're not going to be able to drop the row. There we go. Attention to detail when it comes to this kind of a project is mandatory. Like, it's necessary again, because you just don't want to get this far and then say, oh shoot, I missed that tuck stitch and now I can't finish my scarf. So take the time you need, friends. Look at how beautiful these colors are. I'm going to keep going till I get all the way to the end, and I will see you back. Enjoy the process. Okay, I have this little bit left. Here's where my guide yarn is. It should stop at that first row if this was put in correctly, okay? There we go. If you did not have it, it continues down and just unravels. You need to have a line there to stop your dropping. Get in there, get every last stitch dropped. Pull on that. When you think that you got it, do it again, because there's one there that's not loose yet. Okay, maybe take a single layer here. See, I can see that little loop in there. It's not dropped yet, so we got to just work at it. There we go. Turn it and turn it and turn it. And friends, we have, let me just show you here. And this is a short infinity scarf. You can make it as long as you want. For this tutorial, I chose a short one. I like to wear a scarf like this in the spring and summer, just hanging like this with you know, you don't twist it like this and double it. It just hangs over your shirt like this, and it looks beautiful. You can double it with 75 rows like this, and then you'll have a short doubled cowl, but I just go like this. So now what you want to do, you want to take your 2 strands here. Well, we know that these 2 are correct, so we can tighten that one. The problem with an infinity scarf is there's nowhere to hide in your stitches. There's this little row here where you caught with your guide yarn, but it's really not enough to really do anything. We can take these 2 strands, and I'm going to cut them off evenly so that makes it a little bit easier. And I can show you what you can try to do, but there's no guarantee it's going to stay. So what I would personally do is just cut these off really short. If you know that your knot is tied really, really good. But I'm going to thread my needle. And then I'm going to just go underneath these stitches. Here's where my guide yarn, I don't know if you can see it very well, but my guide yarn that we placed in is this ivory one that's all along the top there. So if you could just go in those loops, pick up the loops that are holding it. You can kind of hide it, pull it through, and then go through the other way. So you've kind of given it a tail. It's not perfect, but it's good. And then you can cut this off right close, just like that. You won't see it. And then for this one, I need to make sure that it's nice and loose and loopy like the rest of my scarf. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to just pull on it to get the stretch out of this that I need. And now it's nice and loopy. You don't want this to be, if you didn't do what I just did, this would be really tight and it would not stretch like the rest of it. So you want to stretch your scarf with that line in it, and then go ahead and, I'm going to just make this easier for myself, then go ahead and tie it. And when I tie it, I'm going to make sure I do at least 3 knots. So I'm going to get that last one really, really, really tight. And we're going to hide this piece just like we hid the last piece and then cut it off. Daphne, this inspiration was for you. She asked she's in my Facebook group. If you haven't joined my group, come on over. We have a lovely group of people over there, but she asked for an infinity scarf with an infinity closure. I tried one and I messaged her and I said, I can't do it. I tried and it all unraveled and came apart. And she said to me, well, you'll probably lose sleep trying to figure it out tonight, aren't you? And I said, yeah, probably. And so that was last night's sleep. And then it dawned on me, you can do it the same way you did the drop stitch beanie. And look at that. It is completely infinity all the way through. It's a tube. It's a tubular join, just like the rest of the scarf. And there you go. It worked. So proud. So we're going to take another quick look at this join because it was pretty quick on that last clip. So here's what it looks like. I wish I could stick my hand in there. I'm going to just separate it like this. We've got our last row right here on that side and our last row. Oh, I guess I can pull on it a little bit more and it'll make it a little, I think there's a couple stitches that were still tight, but that's what it looks like. And look at friends, it's tubular, like it's all the way around and it's holding. That's where I hid my ends and I knew that was going to come out. I told you that you probably have to just cut it off, but that's what it looks like. I think it looks great because you know what? It doesn't matter if this lands at the front or if it lands at the back. If you were to double it, if this was longer and you wanted to double it, if I doubled one like this, it's going to be close to my neck, but sometimes that's really nice too. Again, I like to wear it just long, but that's what it looks like. That's the best that I could get so far. And I'm pretty dang proud of that. I think that it worked out great. Proud of the fact that this is the only one on YouTube. To this date, with this posted, there's nobody else who's done a tubular drop stitch scarf. And I'm so proud of it. So there you go, friends. Thanks for sticking with me. I appreciate your commitment to my channel and to my Facebook group. You guys are the best. Take care and have a blessed day. Please don't forget to come on over and join my Facebook group. The link is down in the description below, and show us all your scarf that you make. We would all love to see and we'll cheer you on. All right, friends, take care. Have a wonderful day.